It began on a Tuesday morning. The skies above every major city on Earth lit up with strange lights, not bright enough to hurt the eyes, but impossible to miss. People stopped in the streets to look up. Cars pulled over on highways. Children pointed from schoolyard playgrounds. Admiral John Mercer was in the middle of his morning coffee when the call came. He had been with the United Earth Defense Force for 25 years and thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. "Sir, you need to see this," said his aide, voice shaking slightly. The main screen in the command center showed them. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands, just beyond the orbit of Neptune. They were massive, the smallest easily 3 times the size of Earth's largest vessel. They had appeared out of nowhere, as if stepping through an invisible door. "How did they get past our early warning systems?" Mercer asked, putting down his coffee mug. "They didn't, sir. They just appeared." Within hours, the message came. It bypassed all secure channels, appearing on every screen connected to a network. The aliens called themselves the Taraxian Dominion. They controlled hundreds of star systems, and they wanted Earth. Lisa Daniels was the best xenolinguist on the planet. She had spent her life studying how different languages might evolve in different environments. Now she found herself translating the first, and possibly last, message from an alien civilization. "They're giving us 30 days, she told the emergency session of the United Nations. Her voice was steady, but her hands gripped the podium tightly. 30 days to surrender Earth and all its resources. After that, they say they will remove us." The room erupted in shouting and arguments. Some nations wanted to fight. Others thought surrender was the only option. A few suggested trying to negotiate. "Their technology is far beyond ours," said the defense secretary, an older man with tired eyes. "Our best weapons would be like throwing rocks at a tank." Captain Olivia Wright, who had been standing quietly at the back of the room, stepped forward. She was younger than most of the senior military staff, but had earned respect during the water wars of 2039. "What if we don't need to match their technology?" she asked. All eyes turned to her. "What if we just need to make them think differently about us?" Scientists worked around the clock studying the transmissions from the alien fleet. Dr. Ben Howard made an important discovery on day 3. "They've been watching us, but they don't understand us very well," he explained to the emergency council. "Their biological scans show they think we're physically weaker than we are. They don't understand human endurance or our ability to adapt." This small piece of information changed everything. Earth began to form a plan. While the world governments publicly prepared for war or surrender, a secret meeting took place in an underground facility in Colorado. Admiral Mercer, Captain Wright, Lisa Daniels, and representatives from the world's top scientific and military organizations gathered around a table. "We can't win a direct fight," Mercer said, looking around the room. "But we don't need to. We just need to survive long enough to show them we're not what they think we are." Olivia Wright unfolded a detailed plan. "The Xeraxians think we're weak, predictable, and that we'll either surrender or fight in ways they expect. They don't understand human creativity or our capacity for unconventional thinking." Lisa Daniels nodded. "Their language reveals a highly structured society. They don't improvise well. They'd follow patterns." For the next few days, Earth put on a show. Military forces moved in predictable patterns, easily visible to the watching aliens. News broadcasts showed fear and confusion, all of it carefully crafted. Behind the scenes, something very different was happening. Operation Phoenix was born, a plan not to defeat the Xeraxians through force, but to shock them with the one thing humans had always been best at: surviving against impossible odds and doing the unexpected. The clock was ticking. 25 days remained until the deadline. Commander Eric Russell floated silently in the darkness of space. His suit showed no heat signature and reflected no light. 3 other members of his team drifted nearby, equally invisible to standard sensors. They were less than 2 miles from a Xeraxian scout ship. "Remember, observe only," Eric whispered into his comm. "We need intelligence, not a firefight." The scout ship was smaller than the massive vessels hanging back near Neptune, but it was still impressive. It had smooth, curved lines and glowed with a faint purple light around its engines. For 6 hours, Eric and his team watched the ship. They recorded every movement, every signal, every routine. What they learned would help Earth prepare. Back at the command center, Dr. Kate Palmer reviewed their findings. She had spent years studying alien biology theories, but now she had real data. What she discovered shocked her. The Exoraxians evolved on a high-gravity world with a thick atmosphere, she explained to Admiral Mercer. They're physically stronger than humans, but they tire quickly. Their endurance is terrible compared to ours. How terrible? Mercer asked. Their soldiers rotate duty every 4 hours. They need frequent rest periods. A human could outlast them easily in any extended action. More data came in from other spy missions. The Exoraxians had advanced weapons, shields that could stop missiles, and ships that moved faster than anything humans had built. But they also had weaknesses. They're hierarchical, Lisa Daniels said, studying their communication patterns. Everything goes up the chain, then back down. No individual decision-making. If we disrupt their command structure, the lower ranks won't adapt quickly. Admiral Mercer smiled for the first time in days. So they're stronger and have better technology, but we can outthink them and outblast them. In a hidden facility under the Rocky Mountains, Sam Martinez was training a special team. They were a mix of soldiers, athletes, and survival experts, people who could push human endurance to its limits. The Exoraxians think humans are soft, Sam told his team as they ran their 10th mile in full gear. They think we'll break easily. We're going to show them how wrong they are. The training was brutal. They practiced fighting in extreme cold, extreme heat, with little oxygen, and no sleep for days. They learned to use Exoraxian weapons based on captured images. They prepared for conditions that would kill most humans. Meanwhile, the aliens watched Earth's visible preparations with amusement. Their analysis was clear. Humans were gathering conventional forces, setting up defensive positions around major cities, moving warships into formation. All predictable, all useless against Exoraxian technology. What they didn't see was Project Phoenix. Dr. Alan Winters had made a breakthrough. They don't detect the same light spectrum we do, he explained to Captain Wright. They miss certain wavelengths entirely. We can use that. Wright nodded. So we can hide things right in front of them. Not just hide. We can build an entire stealth system they can't detect. On day 15 of the 30-day countdown, the Exoraxian High Command received a report from their observers. Humans were behaving exactly as predicted. Their military efforts were focused on direct defense. Their population was panicking. They were sending desperate messages into space, calling for help from anyone who might hear. The Exoraxian commander, a veteran of 12 planetary conquests, felt contempt. Humans were like all the other lesser species the Dominion had conquered, predictable and weak. They would either surrender when the deadline came or die quickly. What the commander didn't know was that everything they were seeing was carefully staged. The real preparations were happening out of sight. On day 18, as the Exoraxians confidently waited for Earth's surrender, 3 small ships slipped away from Earth. They used the new stealth technology and traveled a path the aliens weren't watching. Their mission was classified at the highest level. Only 10 people on Earth knew where they were going or what they planned to do when they got there. The clock continued to count down. 12 days remained. Diane Kelly's job was to make the enemy see what wasn't there. As Earth's top communications specialist, she had spent years protecting secrets. Now her job was to share them, or at least the ones she wanted the Exoraxians to find. The beauty of it is they think they're spying on us, she explained to Admiral Mercer. Every secure channel we've set up has a tiny flaw, just big enough for them to think they're clever for finding it. Mercer looked at the screens showing military deployments around the globe. And they're seeing all of this. Every tank movement, every ship, every panicked message between governments, all carefully chosen to tell the story we want them to hear. That story was simple. Earth was preparing a conventional defense it could never win. The Xeraxians intercepted messages about weapon systems that wouldn't work against their shields. They watched troops gather in locations that would be easy to target from orbit. They saw humanity's futile preparations and grew more confident. What they didn't see was happening on farms and in small towns far from obvious military targets. Major Frank Collins supervised the creation of 50 decoy bases designed to draw alien fire. Meanwhile, the real operations centers were hidden in ordinary buildings and underground facilities. We only need to fool them long enough to get our plan working, Collins told his team as they installed fake radar dishes on an abandoned factory. Every missile they waste on an empty building is one that doesn't hit something important. On day 20, a message arrived from the 3 ships that had left Earth. They had reached their target, a small moon orbiting Jupiter. The Xeraxians had placed an advanced base there, hidden from Earth's direct observation. The human ships landed quietly on the far side of the moon, and the teams moved into position. Great Howard led the ground mission. A former mountain rescue specialist, he could move quickly in difficult terrain. His team carried special equipment designed by Dr. Winters, weapons that used the light frequencies the Xeraxians couldn't detect. "Remember, we're not here to fight," Greg reminded his team. "We're here to learn and prepare." For 2 days, they studied the alien base. They recorded the guard patterns, the communication systems, and most importantly, they planted tiny devices that would allow Earth to listen to everything the Xeraxians said. What they heard was encouraging. The aliens were overconfident. They believed humans were physically weak and technologically primitive. They had no idea about Project Phoenix. Back on Earth, Dr. Emma Nelson made an important discovery. Their environmental suits are designed for high pressure, she told Captain Wright. They can't handle rapid changes. If we can create pressure fluctuations, we can incapacitate them without firing a shot. The information was immediately incorporated into the defense plans. Every small advantage would matter when the deadline came. On day 25, the public side of Earth's preparations reached their peak. Military parades in major cities showed off weapons that looked impressive but would be useless against the Xeraxians. News broadcasts discussed surrender terms. Some countries appeared to be fighting among themselves. The Xeraxian observers reported all of this to their high command. Their conclusion: humans were disorganized, frightened, and ready to fall. In reality, Operation Trojan was nearly ready. Colonel Patricia Davis supervised the final preparations. "Once the aliens make their move, we'll have a very small window of opportunity," she told her pilots. "Everything has to happen exactly on schedule." The pilots nodded. They had been chosen for their ability to think creatively under pressure, something the structured Xeraxian military had trouble with. As day 30 approached, Admiral Mercer called a final meeting with Earth's leaders. "We can't match their strength," he said. "But we don't need to. We just need to survive the first attack and show them we're not what they expect." The room was quiet. Everyone knew many people would die in the coming days, but they also knew that humanity's survival depended on what happened next. 5 days remained until the deadline. Day 30 arrived. The deadline passed without a word from Earth's governments. No surrender, no final plea. Just silence. The Xeraxian fleet moved into position. Their massive ships formed a line between Earth and the Moon. Smaller vessels broke formation and headed toward the planet. From space, they targeted what their scans showed as military bases and defense systems. Bright beams of energy shot from the alien ships. They hit their targets with perfect accuracy. Bases exploded. Radar stations vanished. Defensive missile sites were destroyed before they could fire a single shot. Admiral Mercer watched from the real command center, hidden 200 feet under a small farm in Kansas. Phase 1 complete. he said as reports came in. They've taken out all the decoys. Around the world, the carefully prepared fake military installations were destroyed. The Xeraxians believed they were crippling Earth's defenses. In reality, they hadn't touched anything that mattered. Captain Olivia Wright stood on the bridge of her ship, hidden in plain sight. What looked like a cargo vessel was actually one of Earth's most advanced warships, disguised using Dr. Winter's technology. "All units in position," she reported. "Operation Trojan is go." Across the solar system, small human vessels that had been hiding near asteroids and moons suddenly moved. They used no engines that the Xeraxians could detect. They produced no heat signatures. They were invisible to the alien sensors. These ships slipped between the massive Xeraxian vessels. They attached to the hulls like parasites. Special teams in suits designed by Dr. Palmer cut their way inside. Colonel Patricia Davis gave the signal. "Activate jammers now." Across the Xeraxian fleet, communication systems suddenly failed. Ship-to-ship signals were blocked. Commands from the fleet's leadership couldn't reach the smaller vessels. Instead, they received false orders created by Diane Kelly's team. On the Xeraxian command ship, the leader of the invasion force struggled to understand what was happening. His screen showed Earth's defenses crumbling, yet his fleet was in chaos. Greg Howard and his team were already inside that command ship. They moved through corridors designed for beings much larger than humans. They placed small devices at key locations, not bombs, but something more clever. Each device created subtle atmospheric changes that the Xeraxians couldn't detect, but would slowly affect their ability to function. "First team in position," Greg reported quietly. "Environmental disruptors active." Within an hour, Xeraxian crew members began to feel strange. Their movements slowed. Their thinking became confused. The pressure changes were mimicking conditions their bodies weren't designed to handle. Meanwhile, the smaller alien ships had descended to Earth's surface, expecting to find easy targets. Instead, they found empty buildings. When they tried to return to orbit, they discovered their navigation systems had been subtly altered. Many crashed into oceans or unpopulated areas. The Xeraxian ground forces encountered their first real surprise when they met human defenders. They had expected weak beings who would fall quickly in combat. Instead, they found soldiers who could fight for hours without rest, who could withstand pain that would incapacitate a Xeraxian, who kept coming even when logically they should retreat. "They just don't stop," one alien officer reported in confusion before his communication was cut off. On the command ship, Greg's team reached the main control center. They didn't attack the alien leaders. They simply stood in the doorway, letting the Xeraxians see them. The aliens were shocked. Humans shouldn't have been able to board their vessel. They shouldn't have been able to breathe in the ship's atmosphere. They shouldn't have been standing there, looking not frightened but confident. "We could kill you," Greg said, knowing the aliens' translation systems would understand. "But that's not why we're here." He handed them a small device with a simple message from Admiral Mercer. "This was just our first response. We suggest you reconsider your attack." The Xeraxian commander stared at the humans. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar: doubt. The invasion had just begun, but it was already going very differently than planned. The Xeraxian commander ordered his remaining ships to pull back and regroup. Something was very wrong. His fleet had lost contact with 12 vessels. The ground forces reported strange problems. The humans were not behaving as expected. "How did they get on our ships?" he demanded of his science officer. "Our sensors showed no approach." "Unknown, Commander. They seem to have technology we didn't detect." In the Kansas Command Center, Admiral Mercer watched the alien fleet retreat to a higher orbit. "Phase 2 complete," he announced. "They're confused and regrouping." Dr. Emma Nelson stepped forward with her report. "We've analyzed the data from the boarding teams. The Xeraxians can't handle Earth's normal gravity for more than a few hours. Their muscles fatigue quickly. Their home world must have much less gravity than ours. This explained why the ground forces were struggling. What the aliens thought was a weakness in humans, evolving on a planet with lower gravity, was actually a strength. Humans had grown strong fighting against Earth's pull. Lisa Daniels had been studying the communications they had intercepted. "They're sending urgent messages to their home world," she reported. "They're asking for advice on how to deal with us. They seem genuinely frightened." Captain Wright smiled. "Good. Fear will make them hesitate. We need that time." On the moon base the Taraxians had built, more surprises waited. Sam Martinez and his Special Forces team had captured it with minimal fighting. The aliens stationed there had surrendered after seeing humans function normally in conditions that severely limited the Taraxians. "They can't believe we can run for hours while carrying heavy equipment," Sam reported. To them, it's like watching someone hold their breath underwater for impossible lengths of time. The Taraxian prisoners were providing valuable information. They had never encountered a species with human endurance before. Most advanced races in the galaxy had evolved on worlds with less gravity and less environmental variation than Earth. This made them technologically superior but physically specialized. Humans, having evolved on a challenging world, were adaptable in ways the aliens couldn't comprehend. Dr. Palmer explained it to the world leaders. "Think of it this way. They're like expensive race cars, faster and more advanced, but designed for specific conditions. We're like off-road vehicles, not as fast or pretty, but we can handle any terrain." After 3 days of confused retreat, the Taraxian fleet attempted a second attack. This time, they were more cautious. They targeted power plants and water systems, thinking to wear down human resistance through suffering. But Earth had prepared for this too. Major Collins had created backup systems and hidden power sources. When the aliens destroyed a dam or power plant, emergency systems came online almost immediately. More importantly, the small ships Greg Howard and his teams had infiltrated were now under partial human control. Earth forces could redirect some of their weapons, making them miss targets or hit empty areas. The Taraxian commander realized his fleet was compromised. He ordered all ships to purge their systems and restart, hoping to remove whatever the humans had done to them. During that brief shutdown, Diane Kelly's team struck. They flooded the restarting systems with false information. When the alien ships came back online, their maps showed Earth's continents in the wrong places. Their targeting systems identified empty fields as cities and actual cities as water. "They're flying blind now," Mercer told his staff. "And the best part is, they don't even know it." News of the strange battle reached other parts of the galaxy. The Galactic Council, which had ignored Earth's fate, suddenly paid attention. Reports came in that humans were not only fighting the feared Taraxian dominion, but actually pushing them back. A council observer was dispatched to watch from a safe distance. What she saw shocked her enough that she sent an emergency message home. "The Taraxians have made a terrible mistake. They have awakened something they don't understand. Earth was not only surviving, it was winning." Admiral Mercer called an emergency meeting 1 week after the failed Taraxian attack. Earth had won the first battle, but the war was far from over. "We've pushed them back, but they'll return with reinforcements," he told the assembled leaders. "We need to take the fight to them before that happens." Captain Ryan Peters stood up. He was young, but had proven himself during the moon base capture. "I have a plan. We've studied their ship designs. We can adapt our vessels using their technology. We can reach their supply posts." The plan was bold. Instead of waiting for the next attack, Earth would launch its own strikes against key Taraxian positions in the outer solar system. Captain Peters would lead a small fleet of ships fitted with the alien technology captured during the first battle. General Olivia Wright, recently promoted, approved the plan. "The Taraxians expect us to follow standard military doctrine: defend, regroup, establish lines. They don't expect us to strike back immediately. Their rigid thinking is their greatest weakness." Meanwhile, the Taraxian Dominion was facing problems they never anticipated. Reports from the Earth invasion force had reached their home world, causing confusion and concern. Their military had never failed before. The ruling council demanded answers. "These humans are different," the commander explained via long-range communication. "They don't tire as quickly as other species. They adapt to our tactics faster than we can implement them. And they have somehow developed stealth technology our sensors cannot detect." The explanation was met with disbelief. How could a primitive species from an unimportant planet cause such problems? The council ordered reinforcements sent immediately, but these would take time to arrive. On Earth, a new opportunity emerged. 3 alien ships, damaged in the battle, had crashed in remote areas. Teams led by Dr. Alan Winters recovered vital technology, and more importantly, star maps showing the location of other worlds conquered by the Dominion. "Some of these planets might help us," Dr. Winters suggested. "They've been under Xeraxian control for generations. They might welcome a chance for freedom." Jake Miller, a diplomat with experience in conflict resolution, was chosen to make contact. Using a captured communication device, he sent messages to 3 worlds that seemed most likely to respond, planets whose populations have been recently conquered and might still remember freedom. "We share a common enemy," his message said. "Earth has found ways to fight the Xeraxian Dominion. We offer to share what we know in exchange for alliance." For days, there was no response. Then, a heavily encrypted signal arrived from a planet called Nelvera. "We have suffered under Xeraxian rule for 30 years. If you truly can fight them, we will help you." 2 more planets responded with similar messages. A secret alliance began to form, the first interstellar partnership in Earth's history. Captain Peter's counterattack launched under cover of a meteor shower to mask the ship's heat signatures. They targeted a Xeraxian supply depot on one of Neptune's moons. The aliens there had no warning. They were shocked to see human ships appearing suddenly in their space. They were even more shocked when those ships used Xeraxian weapons against them. The depot fell within hours. Peter's team captured fuel, weapons, and most importantly, a large communication relay that connected the Dominion's forces in multiple star systems. With control of this relay, Diane Kelly's team could now intercept and alter messages between the Xeraxian fleet and their homeworld. They began a campaign of misinformation, sending false reports about human weaknesses, and suggested attack plans that would lead Xeraxian ships into carefully prepared traps. The Galactic Council continued to observe with growing concern. One elder counselor, who had seen many wars, made a prediction. "The Xeraxians believe they are fighting for conquest. The humans are fighting for survival. History tells us which side typically prevails in such conflicts." News spread through the galaxy. The unbeatable Dominion was being challenged by a species many had never heard of before. Some watched with fear, others with hope. All wondered the same thing. How would this end? The Xeraxian reinforcements arrived 3 weeks after the first attack. Their fleet was twice the size of the original invasion force. They expected to find Earth weakened and ready to fall. Instead, they found a solar system transformed into a battleground where humans controlled key positions. Admiral Mercer watched the new alien ships appear near Jupiter. "Right on schedule," he said, "and right where we wanted them." The trap was set. The false information sent through the captured relay had worked. The Xeraxian reinforcements emerged exactly where Earth's forces were strongest. Captain Peters and his fleet, now joined by ships from Nelvera and the other allied worlds, moved into position. They had adapted more alien technology, making improvements the Xeraxians had never considered. "They build great technology but don't innovate well," Dr. Winters had explained. "They follow patterns established centuries ago. We've taken their designs and made them better in just weeks." The battle that followed was unlike anything seen before in the solar system. The Xeraxian reinforcements found themselves caught between multiple forces attacking from unexpected directions. Their rigid battle formations broke apart as they tried to respond to threats that seemed to come from everywhere at once. General Wright's swarm tactics confused the hierarchical Soraxian military structure. Small, fast Earth ships darted between the massive alien vessels, causing damage and then disappearing before they could be targeted. The allies from Nelvere used their knowledge of Soraxian weak points to disable key systems. After 2 days of fighting, the unthinkable happened. The mighty Soraxian fleet, the force that had conquered hundreds of worlds, began to retreat. On their homeworld, the Dominion rulers watched in disbelief as reports of defeat arrived. Their military had never failed so completely. Worlds they had controlled for generations were now in rebellion. The Galactic Council was meeting to discuss the human problem. 4 major galactic powers sent messages to Earth. Not threats, but offers of alliance or at least non-aggression. They had seen what happened to the Soraxians and wanted no part of such a conflict. Admiral Mercer received a direct communication from the Soraxian High Command. "We wish to discuss terms for ending hostilities." The message said, for the first time in their 1,000-year history of conquest, the Dominion was asking for peace. Jake Miller was chosen to lead the negotiations. "We require freedom for all worlds under Soraxian control," he told the alien representatives. "Each planet decides its own fate." The terms were harsh, but the Dominion had no choice. Their main battle fleet was in ruins. Their subject worlds were in open revolt, and the humans had proven far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. 1 month after the battle, Admiral Mercer and Lisa Daniels attended a meeting of the Galactic Council. Earth had been invited to join as a full member, an honor usually reserved for species that had been spacefaring for centuries. "We recognize Earth as a significant new power," the Council leader announced. "Your people have demonstrated remarkable abilities that command respect." What they didn't say openly was that Earth was now considered too dangerous to exclude. Better to have humans as allies than potential enemies. As Mercer and Daniels returned to Earth, they passed a group of alien diplomats watching human children playing in the Council gardens. The children were running, climbing, and jumping with energy that seemed inexhaustible to the watching aliens. "Is it true what they say?" one diplomat whispered to another. "That human children can maintain that level of activity for hours." "Yes, and these are their calm ones," the other replied. "Remember what the Soraxians learned. Never threaten a species that evolved on a death world without understanding what made them survive there in the first place." On Earth, celebrations marked the new era of interstellar relations. Humanity had faced extinction, and instead found its place among the stars. Not through overwhelming technology or strength, but through the uniquely human traits of endurance, adaptability, and creative thinking that other species had never needed to develop. The galaxy would never be the same, and everyone now knew. Threatening Earth was a very bad idea.